Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stu and the crew. I'm Rebecca, and today we have some new Dollar Tree DIYs for you guys for fall. So let's go over some new craft ideas. We are going to be using these supplies in our craft today. So the first list here, we are going to be using some Dollar Tree coasters. We're also going to need some sandpaper. They sell that over by Automotive. Some ribbon of your choice in different fall colors or other colors that you like, some wire, and some glitter. We're also going to be using their wood cutout ornaments, some of the rub-on transfers for the holidays, and the rub-on transfer sheets that they have out. Also, they have some different transfer sheets that are just pure black. We'll be using some of those pop-up stickers, the different color beads that they have out in the various packages. We're also going to need some scissors, some Mod Podge. We will need a paintbrush. And then we will need these Dollar Tree fall napkins. So let's get crafty. The first one we're going to do, and the first thing we're going to do for all these is prepare the coasters with the sandpaper. And I'm going to do mine over the sink because it does get kind of messy with all the dust that comes off of these, but we're pretty much just sanding the design off of the coaster. Now these are porous, so you don't want to use like nail polish remover to take these off because it will seep down into the coaster and it will hold that scent, and it just is not really the best idea to use that. So that's why we're going to use the sandpaper. It's a little bit of work to get it off, but it's not too hard. You just take your time and you want to get it nice and smooth and get all of the paint off of your coaster. So we'll do that to all the coasters we're going to decorate. Now we're going to take some Mod Podge, one of these fall napkins. We're actually going to separate the napkin because it is 2 layers. And then we'll take our coaster and lay it on top of the new picture we're going to put on our coaster and trim around the coaster with some scissors. And now we're going to take some Mod Podge and coat the coaster with a nice thin even coat of Mod Podge. Once we have it coated really well on the edges as well, then we're just going to take that thin sheet of napkin that we separated and lay it on top of the tile. You want to smooth it out from the center out towards the corners. Now just a quick tip, if this bubbles at all, when the glue is pretty much dry, you'll want to take some parchment paper and an iron, lay parchment paper on top of it and just run an iron over the top of it, and you should be able to smooth the wrinkles out before it's completely dry. Now we're going to take some Mod Podge and just rub that around the edges here and fold the napkin down over the edges so that it's decorated all the way around. We'll trim off the excess and cut the corners where we need to. And then once we have the whole entire thing sealed down all the way around, what we're going to do is we're going to take a sanding block. You could just use the sandpaper that we used to remove the coloring off of the coaster, and you can just use that to help smooth out the edges where any of the napkin is hanging over. It'll give you a really nice crisp edge all the way around your little ceramic tile sign. So here we are just cleaning up the edges. As you can see, you just rub it along the edge there and then the paper will peel right off. It's super easy to do. And so here is our first tile finished. We're going to add some more pieces to it, but we're going to pretty much just seal the top of this and then let it dry before we add any more decorations to it. So we're just going to do another thin layer of Mod Podge now that it has dried for about 45 minutes to an hour. Then I like to do the second coat. When using the napkins, I don't like to add too much moisture too quickly because it will bubble a lot and you'll get a lot of wrinkles. So I usually wait about an hour before doing the top coat over any kind of like tissue paper or scrapbook paper. We'll seal around the edges here, and then we'll just let this sit for a few hours. If you like, you can let it cure overnight. I let mine cure overnight, and then I had this rub-on transfer that says thankful. I picked these up at Target last year, but you could use a marker. You don't have to put anything on it. You could use vinyl. It's really up to you if you want to add more details to the tile. So we're just going to add the rub-on transfer to the top. Now, depending on how old the transfer is, this one was a little bit old, so it didn't really want to transfer real easy. I think it was just the age of the transfer, so it was a little bit of work to get it to stick. I don't think the Mod Podge had anything to do with it because I've used Mod Podge in transfers in the past, and it worked really well. So we're just going to make sure we rub this all the way down. When you lift it, just lift really slow. If you notice that any pieces are lifting, just put the paper back down as you see me doing here and rub over the portions that are wanting to lift up with you to make sure that you don't lift any of the letters off, because it's really hard to put it back down in the right place and try to fill in those spaces that rip off. So it's best just to work really slow and lift up that transfer paper as you go. And now we have the word thankful on our tile. And since it didn't want to stick real well, I thought it was best to go ahead and hit the top of that with another layer of Mod Podge. But I just did the Mod Podge over the word. So we'll let that dry again overnight if you like. You don't have to. You could just wait a few hours. So now for our second one, we're going to add this really pretty floral transfer. So these are just the pure black ink transfers that they have out. It's a little bit too long. So what I did is I put the flowers on at an angle, and then I'm going to take that ribbon that tied around the stems, and we're going to kind of work it into the design after the fact here. So the first thing we're going to do is take a little bit of Scotch tape to help hold down the transfers. This was rather large and it went all the way up to the edges, and I wanted to make sure it didn't slide around and would stay put while we were doing the transfer. Now, I will say that for some reason, the ink from this transfer took a really long time to transfer onto the tile. It just did not want to transfer. It did eventually, like there were parts of it that were darker than others. Here I am layering the bow. I just move it up a little bit higher and try to blend it in with the edges there. But, you know, it did transfer, just kind of has a faded, weathered look to it. It looks pretty when the whole thing is done, which you'll see here in a few minutes when we add some extra details to it. But just be mindful if you do use these, they don't go on really dark. And then I went ahead and sealed that with Mod Podge as well. So I was really afraid that would lift off if I did not. So now we're going to let that dry. And then they have these rub-on transfer sheets with these beautiful fall leaves that I just love so much. I think these are so pretty. I think this is one of the favorite tiles that I made this week out of all the ones that I put together. I love the bright, vibrant colors together. It just turned out really pretty. So what we're going to do is just cut out a bunch of different leaf shapes that we can put on our tile. I kind of play with them a little bit, move them around, and figure out where I'm going to want them to be, so I don't have a bunch of the same leaves right next to each other or even the same color and have it look strange. So we're just going to keep moving those around until we have the whole thing filled in. So I'm just going to do a couple at a time. You don't want to overlap the plastic pieces because then you'll accidentally transfer your leaf onto the sheet next to it. So I'm only going to do a few at a time, making sure that the plastic carrier sheet is not overlapping. And then we'll just lay the next layers down, keep working through the whole tile until we have the whole thing filled in with these beautiful fall leaves. And they have like green polka dots on the sheet, which were really pretty. So I added those around the edges as well. Then we seal this with Mod Podge. And while that's drying, we'll work on this really cute little tag that we're going to add to it. This is actually a miniature Christmas ornament from last year. They say, I think like Happy Holidays or something like that on the other side. I just had some extras. I like to pick up little things throughout the year at Dollar Tree, and I usually pick up like 1 or 2 packs. So I'll have some extras and keep them in my craft room for when I need some additional little decorative pieces to add to my crafts. So that's what we're doing with the tags here. We just had these extra ornaments and we're just going to paint them white. And then once we have them all painted in, we'll let them dry for a few minutes. Once it's dry, I just penciled in the words thankful and grateful. And we'll go over that with a Sharpie marker. But before we do the lettering, I'm just going to go around the border with a stitching kind of look with the marker. And I just thought that helped add some extra detail to the tags here. So as you can see, we're just doing it's like a dotted line. So you just want to go slow, try to keep it even and about the same distance from the edge so that it looks like you just have some stitching all the way around if you add this to your sign here. So then we'll go over the pencil marks with the Sharpie marker and let that dry. You can seal it with the Mod Podge if you like once it's completely dry. So now we're going to take some ribbon, just make a really small orange bow, and we'll dovetail the ends. And we'll add that to the top of our tag to hide the little hole that's in it. That was where the twine would go to make it an ornament to hang it. And then we'll just glue this into the corner, glue on our bow, and we'll set this aside and we'll make a hanger for it shortly. We're going to put all the tiles together, make sure they dry overnight, and then we're going to add the hangers. So now we're going to use a Halloween glass transfer. They work as well on these tile sheets. Actually, these worked really well on the coaster sheets. So the larger sheets of the ribbon transfers that were the brighter colors for fall, and then the small wine glass ones were definitely my favorites to use on the tile. The ink transfer sheet, those were the ones I had a little bit of issue with. So we're just going to put the design on the tile. And again, we'll seal this with some Mod Podge. And we'll let that dry. Now for the few winter ones, we can do some of the Dollar Tree ornaments. Those are the small wood ornaments. They come in like a 6 or an 8 pack. Can't really remember. I think they're a 6 pack. And we're just going to completely cover that with some Mod Podge. And then we'll take some ultrafine glitter. Dollar Tree sells it in a smaller bottle. I just have some left over from an old project. So I'm going to use a little bit of silver and then a light blue and just kind of mix it together. So I do 2 of these and I go back in and add a little bit of glitter anywhere that it looks like it's sparse and I could see the wood through it. And I added a little bit more of the blue just because I didn't think it was showing up all that well to start. So we'll let that dry. We'll work on the second one. Once these dry for about an hour, then I go back in with another layer of Mod Podge and I seal the glitter to the ornaments. I don't want the glitter to be flaking off all the time. I don't mind doing crafts with glitter. I just don't want it to be everywhere by the end of the season. So I always try to go back in and seal over top of the glitter to make sure that we're not going to have, glitter all over the house by the end of the season. I just love how these snowflakes turned out. They're really pretty with that silver and blue glitter. So again, we'll dry that for about an hour and then we'll just seal it with the Mod Podge. Now, if you can touch it and it doesn't feel sticky, then it's ready to be sealed. If it feels a little bit sticky and your glitter is lifting, then just wait a little bit longer. And again, if you're going over it with Mod Podge and it's sliding around, not sticking to the wood, then it's not dry enough yet. So just wait a little bit longer and try again in about another hour. So as you can see, it gets lighter when we seal it and it'll get darker again once it dries. Now we're going to take those dried ornaments and we're going to add some hot glue to the back and add them to our tile. And I thought hot glue was plenty. These are just going to be little signs in the house. So I didn't feel that it needed to have a lot of like any special glue on the back. Just the hot glue was enough. So when these are all dry, what we're going to do is decorate them and add some hangers. So this one I didn't show you making it. It's just a little bit redundant. There are a bunch of stickers and I added some glitter. So what we're going to do is just make a layered bow. We're just taking a bunch of coordinating ribbon and we're making this X pattern. We'll tie it in the center. This is a very simple bow to make. And once you tie it off in the center, then all you're going to do is take all the ends and fold them in half and then give a little cut to get these dovetail endings. And you'll do that on both sides. And then I took a 3D leaf sticker from Dollar Tree and I glued that to the center of the bow to help dress it up just a little bit. And then we'll glue this to the corner of our tile. Now for this one, I just added a twine hanger with 1 wood bead at the top. I didn't want all of the hangers to be exactly the same. So I just tie a knot in the twine, like a double knot, and then I measure how large I want this to be. Once I figure out the sizing, I'll cut off the excess and then we can glue the ends down. And again, I'm just using regular hot glue here. I liked it, but I didn't 100% care for it when I was done, so I went back and added that bead to the top. Now for the second one, I just get my beads all in order so I know what pattern I'm going to use. And we just slip on the first bead and then I curl the end. There's a couple different ways you can add beads to a piece of wire where it will stay. You don't always have to knot the end or curl up the end here, which I'll show you guys in just a few minutes, like a different way you can do this. So once we've got it curled down there on the end, we're just going to add all of those beads in the pattern that we already have set. So we just chose to use a natural color bead and the orange bead, which matched the ribbon. Since a lot of the leaves on the tile were a darker green and brown, I thought it was a good idea to add some brightness to it by adding that orange bow and then the orange beads just to help brighten it up a little bit. So here's what we're going to do to end the row here. And you can actually start the row this way. So what you're going to do is put the last bead on. Just make sure you have it big enough so you have your beads that'll reach all the way across. Then we're going to pull that last bead up just a little bit, loop the wire around, and then slide the wire from the bottom up through the end. And then just pull it tight. And that bead is not going to go anywhere. And like I said, you can actually start the row of beads this way. You don't have to start it with the curl on the end, but I did curl both ends just because I like it. It looks a little bit more decorative to me if you're going to see the back. We'll cut off any excess and then we will just glue these beads to the top to add our hanger. And this one I think is my second favorite. I really like this one a lot. So I added a little bit of glue at first around the edges, and then I went back and I added a little bit more glue just to make sure it was going to hold, because the tiles can feel a little heavy. They're really not that heavy, but I just wanted to make sure that the hangers weren't going to come off. So that's that one all finished. Here's the one that's all dry now with the fall napkin from Dollar Tree. I made a really simple tiny twine bow and I add that to the stem of the pumpkin. We'll just attach that with some hot glue. And then we added another bead hanger just like we did with the last one, just with different colored beads. These are for the winter ornaments that we made. I chose to use a light blue bead, a dark blue bead, and then natural color. This black wire you can find over by Automotive and like the tools and things. It comes in a pack with black and red. Sometimes it's hard to find the black floral ribbon, so I will buy the black wire over in the Automotive section. So as you can see, we're starting this row of beads with the loop around the bead like we did the last one. And then we'll just shrink up the beads here in the pattern we have set out. And since we're making two, I actually did a different pattern for each one and just set those out in different rows to make it go a little bit quicker. And we'll tie off the end, make sure it's big enough, and then we'll curl the extra wire on the ends. And again, we'll just use some hot glue to attach these to the back of your sign. And then if you like, you can add some satin ribbon to help decorate it from the front a little bit. So we chose to use some dark blue satin ribbon on the front of these. And I think it really helped a lot to spruce these up a little bit. So I did two bows on this one. And then the other one, I did a more decorative bow just over on the one side that was a little bit larger. So those are our winter signs. And then the Halloween sign, we're going to do this one a little bit different. The hanger, we're going to do 3 purple beads. And then we're going to take a small piece about 2 inches long of ribbon. We're going to fold it in half, cut the dovetail, and then we're going to cut a tiny little notch in the bottom while it's folded. And then we'll slide this over our wire piece here. So we'll do 3 beads, a piece of ribbon, 3 beads, a piece of ribbon. I wanted the ribbon to be small since the tile is small, so that made it a little bit hard to tie, which is why we're adding it to the wire this way. We're still going to give it like a little twist. It'll have the illusion of being tied without actually having to tie it. They're just too small to try to tie, at least they are for me. So all I'm going to do is add a small dot of hot glue. You grab the ribbon from both sides and just give it a twist. So I'll do it again, a little dot of hot glue, grab from both sides and twist in opposite directions. And now they look like they've been tied onto the wire. So once you have it long enough, again, you're going to curl the ends of that wire and glue it onto the back of your sign. And you can add some more ribbon and decorations. You could add some flowers here, maybe even some straw. There's little plastic pieces you could purchase at Dollar Tree, like little spiders and bats. Those would be cute on here also. So there's lots of different ways you could decorate these mini signs. Okay, so we'll glue the beads onto the back. And just start out with a small amount of glue and hold the beads in place while they dry, or at least until they're stuck where you want them, and then let them finish drying before you add any more glue. I like to add a little bit more around the edges. And then again, I'm just going to take a little purple bow and add that to the very top. And so that's our little Halloween sign with the wine glass ribbon transfers. Then we have the one that was the ink transfer. It dried really pretty, so I really like the way it turned out when it was finished. It's just a little bit iffy from the get-go. But I love this little black and white bow I made, very simple, just using that X pattern and tying them off in the center. And then a very simple hanger for this one. We're just going to take that black wire and wrap it really tightly around the end of a paintbrush, like a small paintbrush. And you want to wrap all the way to the end. And then when you pull it off, you can shape it. So I just pull it apart until I have equal distance between all the little coils there. And then we'll glue this to the back. I really love the simplicity of this one. I think it just makes it look really pretty. Sometimes things are almost like over decorated with all the bright colors and things. It's nice just to pull back and have some very simple color schemes. So here's the black and white one. And so these are all of the projects that we made today. All these little miniature signs. It's really fun to hang all around the house for different holidays. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make these coasters into something totally new that you can use around your house. There's so many different ways you could use to decorate these and different projects you could use these for. So I hope you enjoyed learning just one way to use these around your house and crafting and decorating. If you guys enjoyed this video, we post Dollar Tree videos to show what's new for the week on Tuesdays and Fridays, and DIY craft videos on Thursdays. So I hope you'll come back and watch those videos with us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'd really appreciate it. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy. Have a great day, everyone.